Hey, welcome back to another Design Hacker live demo. My name's Andrew Lane. It's been a while. We've got a great demo today. I'm going to go ahead and see what we can come up with in 45 minutes or less. We're starting with an idea, and let's see if we can build a full-blown brand identity, at least the foundation, in under 45 minutes. Today I've got Sondra, who submitted her brand to be built. And the goal right now is to clarify the visual direction, get ideas for design and marketing, get the assets needed to build out online content and sales funnels. And I'll be using very, very simple tools today. Gemini, which everyone has access to. AI Studio is another AI tool from Google. It's very easy to use. And the image model I'll be focusing on is Nano Banana 2. Maybe I'll use Pro as well. And we'll use some ChatGPT, maybe Claude, all the basic stuff that most people are using. So if I zoom out here, this is going to be the plan. We're going to walk through a process today. We're going to go from idea over here on the left to just gathering up the basic info that's needed to start a brand. We'll talk about the vibe and different directions we could test out. We'll go through actually creating mood board images to visualize the brand. Then we'll get into the mockups, and this is slightly different. If you've seen some of my old demos and training, I found that doing the mockups right after mood boards is actually a smarter step right now. And then we can finalize and tighten up the brand with more of the assets that are needed to build it out. And then we'll write it up and solidify it with the written guidelines. And by the end, we will have some type of brand identity. We'll see how far we get today. But if you want to know what that actually requires and entails, here's a few just quick things that we generally do with a brand. So you can take a screenshot of that if you want. Overall, we're trying to get these assets that we need to build out the brand identity. And then from there, that is the foundation. From that point, you would move into building out an online platform, building out your actual brand, which is the money-making stuff over here. We're not going to get into all that today, but just going back over here to the mood board method process, this is a step-by-step process that I use for every client to go from a rough idea to a final direction super fast. So getting clarity on the direction you want to go in with your brand is normally a really, really tough process, right? So the reason you may want to watch today is because this is normally pretty difficult to do. It can take a lot of back and forth. And lately, I've been doing a lot of testing with Nano Banana 2, which is the latest model from Google. It's really fast and easy. As these models get better and better, I'll let you know which ones I'm using. But I'm seeing really good results with Nano Banana 2. There are some updates to the prompts that I use to build these mood boards. So I'll show you that today. And I'm going to go through the process and show you every step, every prompt, all the good stuff that you need to do this yourself. And just FYI, if you want all these prompts, you can grab them here. I've got some free resources. The prompts themselves aren't free, but you can get lifetime access to them. I've got a library over here with all the training and prompts that I use in my own business, and got a lot of people in the course. This is the current library, and I'm adding stuff all the time. We're going to focus on this stuff today, along with some tools here to help with other tasks. All right, so let's get into it. That is the foundation. And any of you watching, we got a few people hanging out. Happy 2026. I haven't been live in a while. A lot going on behind the scenes. So I'm excited to get back here. I'm going to be doing a lot more live demos going forward. So keep an eye out on the channel. And if you want your brand submitted to do this in the course, you can actually go here and fill this out, and I will take a look. We've got a good list of people that we're going to do the next couple weeks for these demos, and you can submit your brand. All right, let's go ahead and get right into it. These are so fun because we don't know what's going to happen. So let's go. We've got Sondra has Amplif-AI Your Business. And she's got a school community that she's building, which is pretty cool. Let me open that up. She's got some things in place. So she's already been working on this. and getting some things going with the brand. So we've got some visuals to work with and ideas of what she likes. In the form that she filled out, we got some information over here about kind of some details about what the business is. And she just shared a few details on what the core offer is, the target audience, the transformation, how she helps people. We have, let's see, we've got the personality. Let me zoom in for you guys. So just some of the basic things that we would need. And if you don't have all this for your business, you can always use AI to just come up with it for you and help you out with this. I'll talk about a process you can go through with that today as well. All right, so some visual direction is really key because starting off, we want to use what she has to get started. But some things I like to do is to experiment first because she has a pretty clear direction of what she wants. But we do want to make it bold and striking. Definitely blending two contrasting things, right? Bold and striking, soft and elegant. So we have pretty dialed in direction of what she wants. We're not going to be able to get too creative today because obviously she has some clarity. But what's kind of fun sometimes is if I take just a sentence like this, I want to show you how fast you can go from an idea to at least a rough concept. And I'm kind of curious if it's anything close to what she's already come up with. I'm going to go ahead and just pop that in, and we're going to use the fast model, which gives us Nano Banana 2, which is the faster image generation model on Gemini. So I'm just using the same Gemini everyone has access to, using the fast model. And I'm going to go ahead and go into the library, and I'm going to grab the mood board generator prompts over here. And if I scroll down, those of you who have the course, you'll notice we have this new style of mood board. It's called the Bento grid. It's a little bit more modern and organized, kind of the Apple style display. We still have the older style here, which you've seen in past demos, the flowing, more editorial style. So both of these can work fine. They've both been updated and improved. And all we have to do is just paste that prompt in, along with at the very end, just some additional details. Now, one thing I'll point out too is a cool update is you can actually change the aspect ratio. So by default, let me zoom back out. All right. By default, it's going to be this vertical size, but you can change that to a horizontal size if you want to create it for like a slideshow presentation or videos. I'll show you a demo of that in a minute. Let's go ahead and run that just without any additional prompting. So I'm going to run that. It only takes a few seconds. While that goes, I'm going to get another one going just so we have two. Let's see what we get using the fast model. Am I using fast on the second one? Yeah, they're both using fast. So it takes about 10, 15 seconds to generate. All right, so we can see what the AI comes up with using the new model. We see kind of what it thinks, and this is fun to see what the AI thinks it should look like based on its own knowledge, right? So we haven't given it any direction yet. But even just looking at that, that's pretty helpful to be like, oh, okay, that's what it could look like. There's still some interesting like typos. So we're not looking for perfection here. We're looking for visual direction and ideas. Like that's kind of cool. You're going to get this kind of cheesy like AI look, right? It's going to be pretty generic usually without any extra prompting. But even with that, that's not bad, right? You would probably get something like that from a designer if you paid good money. And it's a good starting point. If you have no idea what you would think it should look like, want it to look like, you can just run that same prompt over and over. You'll get different kind of results every time. So if we want to dial this in a little bit more, we could just take this entire brief and drop it in. All right, so that's a different approach. We have all this information. You can just take anything you have about your business, and instead of just this one sentence down here, I can take this whole thing and drop it in. And let's just see what that comes up with. I'm going to copy that. Now we're going to get way more refined looks, and I can just pop, run a couple different tabs and see what kind of results we get. So looking through here, we've got, this was the third one that we got. Definitely vibrant, bold, pretty modern. I mean, that's pretty cool. Like the A, just ideas, super fast and easy. It's giving you a bunch of different ideas for the whole look and feel. Let's see now with a more dialed in brand brief. It can take that entire brief and give us something that's definitely more on track with what Sondra is already building. So if we compare this to her current branding, it's actually looking pretty close, but I can already see a much more elevated look. I can see way more elements to work with. The kind of neon glowing pulls it together. Obviously, you get these like weird screen issues where it's kind of backwards, but we're not worried about that right now. I'm looking at how can we start to like get a foundation to build out all the visual assets that we need to get this brand off the ground. And this already looks amazing. I can see consistency with the typography, the contrast, the background colors. We have this cool kind of feminine contrast with that bold, with the glittery look, but a more modern glitter. Sometimes I hold off on like glitter with feminine brands because it's so overdone. But this is already looking super cool. And you can see how smart the AI is now. It's able to read a very detailed brief if you have one, and it can actually weave that together for you and help you see what that would look like. So that's just one result. Let's go ahead and I'm going to start downloading these because these are more on track. And then we can kind of compare what we're thinking with the different ideas. So this one a little bit, it's a little bit cheesier. It's like too much going on. Sometimes you get overkill with what the AI comes up with, is trying to be cool and techy. Not bad though. I mean, it's not bad by any means, but I like the other one a lot more. That's why I run it several times. This one seems like it's more on track just based on what I've already seen from Sondra's content. All right, really cool ideas. We could run maybe one or two more. I would just run that same prompt. All I'm doing is the mood board prompt. So it's just this one prompt here. I'm using the new grid style. And I'm also just dropping in the brief, which just had basic information. I kind of use AI to whip that up. You can just run it through ChatGPT and say, hey, just turn this into a brand brief for me based on any suggestions or ideas you have. And she just kind of shared just the basics of who she helps. And we kind of put this doc together. If you actually have nothing, I'll talk about that. Let's see. This is definitely bold, a little bit more of the vertical text. Good ideas. I might run one more. And if you're not getting what you want, what we can also do is an earlier step in the process is what I call the brand vibe report. So if you're really struggling to get anything to look good, you can actually go in and you help you kind of come up with a document like what you see there, what Sandra had already done. She's pretty tech savvy, so she already had something like that. But you have the prompt or a tool here, which we can just drop it in. And based on even just a one sentence starting point, we can get different directions of ideas really fast. So we can actually brainstorm 3 unique ideas really quickly. If you just want to see ideas written out, you just tell it, let's go ahead and do 3 ideas here. I'm going to paste in just one sentence about the concept. All right, there we go. And what this will do is write up a brief, but with 3 different concepts. So I can just tell it I want 3 ideas, which is useful. So you can kind of do the same thing I just did. But now it's going to come up with written angles and ideas for your brand. I didn't even give it a name, which isn't even needed in the early stages. You just need the look and feel to resonate with your audience. So it's coming up with some cool ideas, and I'll just show you an example of that. We'll run it through just so we can kind of see. It's fun to just compare what you're doing to what other angles and directions may be possible for your brand, just to feel more confident about your direction. Because when you see other, oops, over here, when you see other ideas, you'll kind of know like, oh, sometimes it'll be so good that you may rethink the direction of your brand. So let's go ahead and grab the second one here, Visibility Studio or Known Before Famous. I'm not sure what that one is. So we'll just try a couple of these. What's cool about the brand vibe report is it really tries to do a first draft of what this could look like and the marketing angles and messaging, which come together nicely on a mood board. So, oops, let's go ahead and look at what we got here. Okay, yeah. Really boring. I mean, this is a totally different type of feel. But I've had clients who want something really simple like this, and that can be useful. But now we can see clearly that her direction of bold and feminine is way different than this kind of clean, simple, more corporate, safe approach. Neither is better or worse. It just comes down to your preference. This one's pretty cool. A little bit more like a newspaper kind of look. Yeah, so you can see pretty quick. There's really no one perfect answer. It comes down to your brand, your style, the vibe you want to go with. This is pretty cool. And having some of the content already for her brand, we know what we're looking for. So I just went through that. As far as the vibe, we already had that kind of written out. So I didn't need to use that tool to come up with ideas. She had a pretty clear direction already. So we worked with her brief, which served as the vibe since she had already written that out. So when it comes to mood boards, let's drop these in. We have a few ideas to compare. And I like doing this because now we can look. You can see they were very consistent since we had a very detailed brief of what she wanted. Looking through it, we're looking for a few things that we like. And I'm still leaning towards this one. It's got a little bit more of an elevated look. Just the typography to me and the negative space. It's cleaner. Still has a strong visual impact. I like the elements I'm seeing woven in. And I like some of this pattern that's going on. I think that's a really cool effect. So that's me personally. If I, had a meeting with a client, we would run through that together and play around. But sometimes you'll see other things you like. This kind of magical effect could be used later. And that's what's cool with AI now is you can actually create styles to add these kind of effects to your photos to keep that brand consistency. So I may weave that in later. I think that's a cool style. Otherwise, we're looking at the types of stock imagery, the scenes it's creating. How are we telling the brand story? Speaking on stage, that's pretty cool. One thing I may try too is if this thing, if we're trying to avoid the super AI look, this one's a little bit better. We're still kind of getting that. I would consider going back and trying one more round. Let's grab the one. These were all the same. So let's try one more of these. Let's see here. I'm not sure why Gemini is taking so long to load. All right, I'll run this one because we're already here. Let's run that. And at the very end, hard flash. Let's do more edgy, realistic photo. So just adding something like that, let's see what it would do. You can just add little extra things to get a slightly different look. And I've noticed with the photography style and the kind of the look that it gives you, you're going to get a very default look from AI. And if you want something different, you can just try to point it and nudge it in different directions. So it could be more artistic, cartoony, or it could be much more like raw, real. Didn't quite nail it. Not terrible ideas. The words raw, real may actually work. Raw, real, harsh. We could try something like that or give it more of a direction, like a style of magazine. If there's something, if there's inspiration out there of a style that you like, you can either just upload that in and say, I like this style, help me do more of that. You can even chat with it further. We're going to play around with that in these same chat threads. We can continue to build out the brand. But starting points are really key. And I want to show you if you're running into these kind of boring, right? So you're going to get a different type of photography here. And that's interesting. So nudging it with a few extra words does make a big difference. So I'll drop that in. This lady doesn't look as much like Sondra, but the style is a bit different. So we could play with that. We have that one. And this one. To me, I think what she's looking for is to stand out a bit more and not be so AI cheesy looking. And that kind of look can definitely make a difference. So the raw, real, harsh flash photography style. But I'm also noticing some things I like. Why do I like some things about it? Well, I like the contrast, the light, dark. I like the more simplicity of the color palette. Some of these background textures are pretty cool. And that's stuff you can definitely use in the future. So even making a bunch of ideas isn't a bad idea because we can pull from that later. All right, next up, zooming out. We just did a few of the basics, and let's get into mockups. So mockups are really fun because now we can start to see the brand come to life a little bit more. And what I mean by mockups is over in the prompts, we have a bunch of these different mockups to help us kind of see what the brand would look like in different types of content, situations. I like to often start with a sales deck. So if we scroll down, some of the early ones here, I've now tagged them with what they are. So a lot of visual identity systems. We'll come back to that later. We definitely want to play around with logos and stuff. But with the mood board method, we're looking more at visual direction and deciding on that. So within 30 or 40 minutes, you can get really far. So let's go ahead and scroll down to more of the, where is the sales deck? Okay, sales deck mockup. You can always search too. And if you have the course, you can just go up here and search. Now we can see all the different sales types of content, sales deck mockup. This is fun. I really like using this one because it can start to really expand this out. So within the same chat, we can keep going. So I'm going to drop that one in. And let's go ahead and close that out. Let's close this one out. I'm going to drop it in here. How would this brand start to come together? This one, we'll run it for this one too. Why not? Oh, this was another one we made. I'm not loving it as much. Nothing like that unique about it. I'll close that one out. We'll stick with the other ones. Okay, if there is an issue with generating the image, we may need to hard dial in the image tool. Some of these more complex tasks, it needs a bit of a nudge. It doesn't activate the tool. Also, sometimes if you do that, you may lose the brand thread, but we'll come back and see how that looks. I'll go ahead and just hard prompt the tool in there so it uses that. I'm going to skip this one. Okay, I liked this one a lot, so let's go ahead and run that and see how this would start to come to life. All right, let's look back, and here we go. So now we can see how that brand would look in more of a deck. I don't love that it crunched the top two, but that's fine. We're just looking for ideas and inspiration to see if this is the direction we want to go in. So how can we put ideas together, present them effectively for sales presentations, educational videos? Looking pretty cool. I kind of see how it works. The colors all work well together. Let's see what it thinks about this one. More of the dark light contrast. So we're seeing more lighter feel. That's looking pretty cool. I really like to see what the AI comes up with too for the styles of backgrounds and different designs. We have now some like constellations. I know she had some kind of like a little bit of woo, which was winning. What was it in her brief? There's some stuff about winning over others or kind of looking at the strengths. So it's actually pulling a lot of this out and helping us visualize it. That's one of the benefits too of having more information in the early steps, because the AIs are already trained on all this information about the brand. When we tell it to make a sales deck, it's actually going to put together the ideas very quickly and help us see what that brand could look like. You'll get duplicates and issues and typos, but it doesn't really matter at this stage. That looks amazing. I think there's some really good stuff in there. I like the feel of it. Okay, this one was up here. Was it able to hold that pretty well? Yeah, I think we kept the brand consistency going. All right, let's download that. Let's take a look at this one. Was that kind of glowy hand effect, magic hands. Yeah, it didn't do as good of a job on that one. Did it make two of them? Interesting. Yeah. Not loving that direction as much. Okay, here's the one I think I liked. Yeah, let's see how this is looking. A little bit darker, moodier. I like even some of the messaging ideas are really fun to pull out. I see that pattern being woven through. The consistency looks really premium. Even just some of these visuals, the old versus the new way, it's duplicating it, but it's good to see. Oops, earbud fell out. It's good to see different ideas of ways to present stuff. Let's scroll down. Cool. Really good. All right, let's see these were the ones we were just testing initially, so I'll close these out. We could just, I'll just show you if you want to see same kind of thing. It will bring this one to life. So if you wanted to experiment with totally different styles and directions, this would help you. We are pretty narrowed in with what we're looking at now, and they're all kind of similar, but it's going to be very different if you use a different style of brand like this one. So if we try to pull that out into like a sales deck or presentation, we can see that this style is going to look quite different. So same overall. That's what's really cool to do this kind of fast experimenting. The same overall mission of the brand can look completely different based on some of the details that you add in. And both of these could be really, really good brands. It's just different styles. All right, so I'll close that one out. We have some really good ideas to work with now. So looking back over here, we're doing mock-ups now. So let's see what we're getting with the mock-ups. We can compare now. We're very fine-tuned. We're very locked in with a few different directions that are very similar and honestly could all just kind of be morphed together. They're not that different to where I would be that worried about it. We will have to make some decisions on the actual fonts and specific colors, but we can always pull out ideas from these because they can pretty much interweave with how we present it. Okay, so that was just one of the mock-ups. We could try some other mock-ups here to see other ideas. So something like, let's see what would be useful for this one. I know she does service sales page would be pretty interesting. Let's go ahead and try this one. What could an actual sales page look like? And if you want to start putting the actual client in the image, you can. At this stage, I don't highly recommend it because it's not going to be perfect, but I do have a photo of Sondra, so I can drop that in and we can see how that would start to look. Love the direction. Use the actual photo of Sondra. All right. So now it's going to take that prompt. We've added a bit more information to the AI as we're moving through this process. And let's see what we get. I'll do the same thing over here. I think we're going to close that one out. I could always come back to it, but I'm going to stick with a few that are actually working well, because usually in a chat thread, if it's working well, it'll continue doing pretty well. If it kind of goes off course, you might as well just start a new chat thread. All right, let's run that. Oop, I didn't put the photo in there. We could see how it does. It's not super needed to do that, but it can make it more real. So look at that. It even colorized it. And super fast now we can actually see. Was this the one that I initially liked? Yeah. It's often doing this so much now, I can actually kind of predict which chat thread, which mood board style is going to start to look really good, because the AI kind of gets in a groove. And these are just looking super cool. You can really see that come to life. All of her ideas now being visualized. Rough draft, but man, this would normally take so much work to come up with. I mean, I used to spend hours just coming up with concepts like this for clients. You can even see her whole methodology start to be visualized and how it would weave her photo into the look and feel of the brand. pretty amazing. And let's see here. That's pretty cool. Wow. See, and I like to get a few threads going because you'll get some cool things. And like initially, this style kind of jumped out to me. A little bit more of this red maroon in there is pretty cool. So you'll be, you'll find things that are a bit unexpected sometimes. Okay. So in just 4 tabs, using Gemini, using the fast model, you can do something like 100 images a day, I believe, if you're on the $20 a month plan with Gemini. So I'm building out, I mean, entire visual brand systems, concepts. And the goal right now is, like I said, it's just to get a decision on the direction. If you have a client, getting them to get excited about the vision is a huge step in the right direction. And I'm showing refinements of one direction. So I'm experimenting within a very narrow scope. But you can again do the same thing with completely different style brands. And that would give you a lot more to work with as far as potential paths and direction of your brand, the messaging, the impact. So it can work in a very creative, wide range of exploration with a brand, or refining a vision and looking at it through slightly different styles. Let me drop in these last couple here. How did this last one do? Oh, that's pretty cool. That was that more flash style. So you see how it changes the way that it treats images. So I'm going to try a couple more things because with her brand, it's a lot of personal branding. It's a lot of photos of her, situational photos. In that case, I would go up here and start to look at photo shoot. So the founder photo shoot, if you are going to get a photo shoot, you could use a prompt like this to plan it. So let's see in this style if we get some a little bit different type of photography. Let's run this one, this one. This is more of the assets side. I think Mockup wise, she's not going to need much more than this. Sales pages, presentations, video content. That's pretty much the whole name of the game with a brand like this. Social media, we could explore some social media content, but you don't need much more than that with this type of brand. So Mockup wise, we have some really good ideas to pull from now. And as you start to build a brand like this, personal brand, education brand, it's going to come down to a couple sales pages, a lot of videos, and social posts. There's really not much else. Maybe some like PDF print worksheets, but all that's going to kind of follow the same look. So we have stuff to work with now to help do that. All right. Photo shoots, right? A lot of photos. That's going to be a huge part of this. So how do these look? What's cool is it can take that brand, the elements, and show you kind of how it can all weave together. And even the kind of photos that you may consider getting done or get the AI version. They'll probably be very similar, but some cool ideas in here. I like some of the like techie stuff, visionary stuff, reflective materials, the different settings, the kind of like warm authority photos. All those are really important for a brand like this. So photographers, I think it's a really good first step too, to get clarity of this. Like I have a lot of photographer friends and clients over the years, and helping a client get prepared for a photo shoot and like getting a plan of what they're going to get photos of is a huge challenge, but it's a really key part of a brand. This process I just went through could be really powerful. All right, and then here's that flash look. So it's a different kind of vibe. A little bit more harsh, raw, real. So you notice how just pulling those couple extra words in, we're getting a slightly different look. And we can expand that out as we go through this chat and explore different mock-ups and concepts to see if that's more what we want to do. So this is actually going to be more over in the assets that we'll need to develop or create with AI. Let's just keep the size the same. So now you won't be starting from scratch with a photo shoot. Let's do social media as well. Let's do for her, this will be the educational style. So this is fun. Let's grab that. Let's just run that through these. And this is more of the mock-up. All right, so let's look back at like this one, which was, I believe, the one I liked most initially. The look, the feel, the style. Followed the client brief really well with just some basic details about what they wanted. It brought it to life so we could see it very fast. Scrolling down, seeing it in a sales presentation style, we can see what the kind of look, how the brand would come to life in that context. Scrolling down, how would it look as a website? Scrolling down, how would it look as a photo shoot? And now scrolling down, what kind of social media content here? So we can imagine her social feed. Let's do another one with, I'm going to do the more UGC ad. I might add social to that as well, but this is more of the realistic style content. So how would her more real, raw social media look? And let's see here. All right, so we had that issue again where it didn't create the image. So we can just go in and try again. Sometimes it just gives you text. It gets confused. And oftentimes after a few chats, the AI just gets overwhelmed and it happens. You may have to start a new chat. Looks like it's doing a good job though, getting up to speed here. All right, let's do, okay, this is more of the more raw style content. Some more social media ideas. Let's do the raw look. See, it's pulling heavily from the initial mood board. That's okay. We're just looking at concepts. It's starting to weave in her actual photo there. We could have put her photo in initially. I usually don't worry about that though, because it's not really the point. We're looking for ideas and direction. All right, so we have the asset library starting. We have mock-ups now for social media. Did I do the, let's take a look. Make sure I download these. All right, more of the realistic, or these are, no, educational, yeah. And a bit more raw, it's kind of getting lazy. It's some stuff in there. I think it just kind of repeated a lot of this. Oh, I did the same prompt. Oh, okay, that's why we're getting the same thing. Let me grab. That's what happened. It was my fault. Did it repeat? No, I actually got new ideas even, so we could grab some of those. Okay, that was the realistic style. I think we got, okay, I'll do the realistic one here. There's not much more you would need for a brand like this. I mean, this is the whole name of the game, right? Doing a school community like she's doing. It's going to be video content. It's going to be social posts. It's going to be sales pages. I do have some course mock-ups. So like, what could the course content look like? Let's try that one out. Course sales page, platform. Let's see. We could try it out, sure. Okay, here's some of the like lo-fi. That's fun to see too. I love seeing what the realistic style content. All right, let's do course. And all of these were just initial starting points. So they kind of started with a slightly different mood board, which pushes the AI in slightly different directions. So even though we have the same brief, it won't be the same every time unless you were like really, really specific. But having slight variations can give you different ideas to pull from. What I usually do with all this is, so it starts to get kind of overwhelming with how much you're making. So what I usually do is I will create a Google photo album, and I will just upload all this into it. So then when I sit down to work on something for the client, or we're trying to make decisions or meet, we can just pull from all this. And I might go through, and the next phase would be like looking at what I like and put it together, pull things out. But now we have, really, really good ideas to pull from in just 20 or 30 minutes of doing this. I don't have to start from scratch when I sit down to design or create. And if I'm prompting AI to help me do stuff, now we have visuals to give it as inspiration. And we're not talking about generic visuals like Pinterest boards and stuff. I can actually go in and say, hey, I want to make some content like this, and tell the AI exactly the kind of look and feel you want. So let's go ahead and back up all those. Let's drop in a few more. Now we have a big old library of ideas. All right, zooming out. I need to add in a couple of these. More of the lo-fi content. This is fun because you can really see the brain come to life here. Some of these aren't great. I'll probably just delete that one. Nothing much to work with. Some ideas here. That's the educational. The lo-fis are really fun. It feels so real. I think I had one more. Okay. Let's see how these course ideas looked. Okay, got a little bit jumbled, but still some interesting ideas. I'm not sure what's going on there. Okay, that prompt I might need to revisit, or the AI is getting overwhelmed. That one did a bit better. If you get to a point where it's starting to get jumbled up, it can get to a point where the AI is like, there's too much going on here. So we could start over and just upload the mood board in and give it the brief. So what I might consider doing at this stage, let me go full screen for you guys. All right, what I might do at this stage, if it's getting too much in one chat thread, we can just start a new chat. I could grab the whole brief again. We could then grab a prompt like this, drop the entire brief below. So every prompt has instructions to add more notes. And then we can just go back to whatever mood board we started with, drop that in as a starting point. Now we have the same context. We have the prompt, we have the mood board inspiration, and we have the brief. And we can try running that again to see if it improves the results. All right, interesting. I'm not loving that one. I may revisit that prompt, but we have a lot of good ideas to work with already. Not every prompt is going to nail it for you. These lo-fi ideas are so good. All right, now we can start to refine a little bit. So let's grab just the last couple mock-ups I did. This is interesting too. What I'm noticing, okay, I'm seeing an issue sometimes with AI. It starts to your downloads get a little bit wonky, and that's a bummer. I think it's just a bug because it doesn't look like that, right? So the bug is it's struggling to download the image. So we may have some extra artifacts like this one. Yeah, it happened to this one. Okay. Yeah. So it's worth looking at to see what's going on. It definitely started to have some issues with these images. Maybe a temporary glitch. Notice this with Gemini. Yeah, those didn't download right. So I could try again, or you can just open it up and maybe just take a screenshot. It's going to be lower quality, but we may have to do it in this case. Let's see how this did. Yeah, definitely handled that better. So that prompt was struggling earlier because we had too much going on in that chat and it just got overwhelmed. It's understandable. It only has so much of a context window. So we got to a point where the chat just got lazy, tired, confused. And if we just start fresh with that's where the mood boards are really useful as a starting point. It has so much of the visual direction built in. And that's what the idea of the mood board is it gives you a solid starting point of inspiration to help you with all this brainstorming and mockups. So now we have a much cleaner concept for what a sales page could look like. We're probably hitting the boundaries on these as well. So I'd probably consider doing that same thing with a different starting point. And now we could just kick up a new chat and then start with the mood board. I could grab a prompt like this. And then we have, you always want to have some kind of foundational brief or details. That could be the vibe. Eventually you could have that refined visual brand guidelines, which is where we're going next. So a combination of written and visual. So what we've done is we went from this rough idea. We had some notes from the client. We had a brief of what she already wanted, what she's already working with. And that narrowed the scope quite a bit. So now we started to explore within that scope, creating different mood board concepts, slight variations. The only one I really changed was down here with the style of photography, the raw, real flash photo style, to see if we could get out of that AI perfect glossy look, styled more. We then explored with all of those. We started doing mock-ups to see which brand style actually works best. So we can see, do we like the lighter look? Do we like the gold background combos? Different things to just consider as we're putting things together going forward. I would look at the website sales page mock-ups for a brand like this. A service sales page would be really important. So what kind of information will we need to display? How can we display it effectively? How can we get the look to be consistent and really clean throughout the whole thing? So many good ideas in here to help with those decisions that come down the pipeline later on. Social media is going to be really big for a brand like this. A combination of the polished look and then the more raw, real connection. We have, let's see, these other types of sales pages for courses, programs. We can mock those up to see how that could look. How did this one do? Yeah, some ideas in there. That prompt made it some work, but we're getting some ideas. Right, let's see. I'll download this one. And the final step is making some key decisions and then getting some written guidelines to really dial in the brand. To help with that as well, we can use some of these more asset prompts, which can help us see some of this stuff more mapped out. So for example, all those background images. Let's take a look here at, where is my background? Oh, it's right here. Background image ideas. So I can take that. What I would do now is we're in the asset side of things. I would go in and probably start a new chat, and I will take a mix of, let's just try this one, that mood board, plus some of the results we generated with that one. Bummer that the download's not working right. Let's see. All right. I may give it, let's just say we like that style. I can now give it a few different things to study. Let's grab the sales deck. Did we do it for? Let me go look. Maybe we didn't make a sales deck for that one. That's fine. Okay, let's see how this looks. What this will do now is it's going to study all this, and it's going to try to help pull out the background images that we want. I'm going to do one more of these with more of the brand that I liked initially. This one. So if you were to go and do a platform like Canva or something, you're going to need, I think it was this one here. You're going to need those raw assets to load in. And that's where we can start to use AI to pull that out. Okay, so it analyzed both those images, and it's able to kind of pull out what the backgrounds are that we may need. Patterns, the different colors, the textures. Did a decent job. I might run that again. And we may have given it too much to work with, so I'm going to try another version of just the mood board. But this one is actually, if I look at it now, there's not a lot going on here. It kind of did a good job. I may just try giving it less to work with. Okay, here's another one. These are compared to which one it was, this. So yeah, we can kind of see what background textures, styles. Pretty good job of doing that. So these are the kind of background images you'd want to make. The way you would do that right now, it's kind of manual, but you can generate them. So one thing that I've done is, instead of going and now hunting to find them, we can basically pull out what you like. So this is kind of the process I went through with this brand. We identified some cool textures and backgrounds, and then I just took a really rough screenshot, and you just tell it to recreate that. And now you can get super high resolution images. So that would be the next step, is opening these up and saying, all right, what do I actually want? I think I kind of like that. And now using either Gemini or something like AI Studio. When you get to the next level and you don't want the watermarks, now we can move into AI Studio, where it's basically the same thing, but just no watermarks. And you just pay per usage, which is like a few cents per image. We can use over here Nano Banana 2 or Nano Banana Pro. This is where you can start to do more professional assets that don't have the watermark. So recreate this background image. I'll just say image, exactly the same, super high res. Okay. There we go. And now we can go up to 4K. 2K is probably fine, image only. So I set actually I probably should have done, well, that's a lesson. I'll do it again. Let's set it to 16 by 9. I mean, Square it's gonna basically emulate whatever ratio you put in there. But if I did 16 by 9, 2K, now we can get a different aspect ratio. So now we can actually generate real assets for the brand. And these are great for websites, background images. These are great for social media, right? When you actually go to create this stuff. Again, it used to take me hours of going and finding background images and then trying to customize them to match the style of the brand. You don't have to do that anymore. We can just generate them. And now if you want to go create some styles like this, we can actually go in and dude, these downloads are bugging me. That's annoying. So that's a bug with Gemini right now. I'll have to find a way around that. But we have a lot of concepts. So any of the backgrounds you like, you can even just start taking screenshots like this, right? Any of the elements you can grab and tell it to generate that. So let's try that one. No text or any other visuals. Let's see how that does. You only need a few of these. As you see, the consistency in a brand is just having a few key elements like this that are on brand, look good. I'm not really, I wouldn't probably use this one, but that's the idea is we're looking for, when we put it together, we're going to need these pieces. So how would we grab them? Right, some of these elements right here, you can use something like ChatGPT is really good for stuff like this. And what we can also do is when we get a brand style and we want to get more elements, let's say we want to go with that initial one that I liked. This is where these other prompts are useful. So I can grab the elements out. Where is it? There it is. Accent elements. And we can have it extract these from the actual. All right, that one didn't do a great job. I'd probably just run it again. It didn't give me exactly the same style, but it's something. You know, we could just take a screenshot or whatever. Not quite. Usually it's better than that. So maybe getting confused with the old styles here in that chat. But let's go to something like this. Drop this in. We'll drop in this. So I'm doing the elements of it. So it's going to analyze the mood board image and look for the design styles. So individual elements can be useful to like sparkly things, these kind of shapes, little accents, even icons and stuff like that. It will find all that and put them together for you. That's pretty cool. What would be useful? Yeah, definitely some stuff could be useful. More of the sparkle, glitter stuff. So you can kind of chat with it, a little bit of it in there. With these, I'd probably go into ChatGPT. It's better at transparent backgrounds. And once it downloads, so ChatGPT can actually handle transparent backgrounds. If there was something I liked, interesting what it did, it came up with here. Even just little things like that. The fastest way right now, honestly, is just have AI generate it. So make this shape as a transparent background, super high res. We'll try that. I could probably prompt it better, but that might be good enough. Let's look over here. Did it pull out? Oh boy, let's struggle with that. I may need to give it some extra details here in the prompt. So I might do that same thing again. Little extra nudge. Let's see how this one does. And really, at that point, you would just grab a library of some of the stuff you need. You could always add more later if you need it. But I would start to, as I mentioned earlier, start to build out a library with ideas, inspiration, actual assets that you are making. You can load stuff like this in, and then you have to put it all together. So zooming out, let's see how this is doing. It's trying. I may have probably prompted. Yeah, it's all right. So you have shapes and stuff that you need. The idea is if you see stuff you like in the results, I could probably go in and find these kind of Art Deco designs and create some of those assets just using, yeah, I'd probably find the best ones there. And I may even want to prompt it further over here and say more of the Art Deco. Yeah, here's some of the stuff we need. So all this now we have as standalone shapes. I can go in and make that. All right, so this could be cool. So just a little nudge and you can get it to make more of what you want. So the prompts that I have are meant for different use cases, different stages, exploring ideas, or narrowing down and extracting out the elements. They're all really useful in this process. So zooming out, we are now gathering up the assets. Just for example, here are these like shapes now that are pretty useful. So you're going to need a mix of photos. And this is also great for stock photos. So you could also use the stock photo prompt to have it come up with the different kind of photos. We did the founder photo shoot. These are those downloads got really, I got to figure out a way to fix that. But some of these are awesome for just ideas for your stock or your professional photo shoot. So assets now, and finally we try to dial that in. So what I could do is go through and make the decision on which style I want to rock with, or at least train the AI on in written words. And it may be a mix. I think I would go with this one. I just like it a lot. I think this one's really good too. At least we give it some light variations, because I saw some of the light variations I was seeing coming out really nice. And these two are pretty similar. It's almost like showing the AI light and dark combos. They have a similar Art Deco look where you have some of that. You may get confusion mixing this kind of look with the gold Art Deco, but I could tighten that up later. So what I would try now is over in the mood board prompts, we have the visual brand guidelines, and there is a ChatGPT for that as well, or you could use a prompt in any image tool. At this point, I would just drop those in. And you can even tell it, I like more of the gold Art Deco style. If you want, I think I'm just going to trust the AI to figure it out. Now it's going to analyze all that. And now I have a written document that kind of breaks it down and describes. It's funny too to see even what it comes up with compared to our initial thing, which I could also in this step, I could give it this, which would probably be helpful, but it's fun to see what it comes up with even without it. It looked pretty close. The kind of words that it's extracting out of it, the energy we're trying to portray. I don't tell it to get exact hex codes at this stage because it's usually not perfect yet at identifying that, or exact fonts. So those are two things we have to figure out later. We have to actually go get the colors, which I would use something like Coolers. And what you could do is drop in your image, and you could start to piece together the exact, the exact colors over here. It's a little tedious, but that would be kind of the process. You need to go and actually get the colors out of it. All right, let's see how this is doing. So we have our document. I may say update it. Here is the original brand brief that we started with. Make any corrections needed. So I'd probably weave that in. Got it. Yeah, little details. Cool. So we'll get a more refined written guidelines. And all this would be stuff. Oops, there we go. All this would be stuff I load into a project on ChatGPT, Claude, or wherever you are using AI tools to get it trained and then be more consistent with what it makes. So the brand identity, that would be the final stage now, is just pulling that all together, tightening it up. And from there, you have to go into, so what I mean by tightening it up is all of this. So the documents I like to use, basic detail about the business, the vibe, how we're resonating and connecting with the audience, the guidelines, which are all the details written out. I like to have the visual inspiration, like the mood boards or any concepts that you really like, to show the AI what you're thinking. And then over here, all the assets that you're trying to put together eventually. You don't need all of this right away, but we do need to go identify the font, get these colors more solidified, get the libraries of images starting to grow, and then the logo stuff. Those are things you can do with AI. I didn't get into that today, but I would consider doing logo design. I'll just try that real fast before we wrap up. You can go back into some of these older chats too and just see if it can come up with a logo. I do have a couple different logo ones. I think I was trying this one too. You'll get some of the AI look. Is it the best ever? Nah, but for inspiration ideas, it's not the worst. For super fast concepts, we could even see like some of the mascot style designs. Those aren't the best I've seen, but again, for just ideation, it's helpful to see what you like or don't like. Even seeing what you don't like can be useful. So yeah, that not really doing it for me. But you can give it feedback and chat with it further if you want to, or just hope for a one shot awesome. That's not the worst personal brand. I like seeing it more like this. So again, ideas. I could download that and drop it into a folder. Anything that may be useful could be at least worth saving and revisiting later. All right. So all that, then you would take all that and now you need to go load it into whatever creation tools you have, right? So maybe it's Canva, whatever you're using to create stuff. All this information can be useful, the written stuff, the visual inspiration, the brand assets. Obviously, you need to get those defined. Then I usually go and start to build out the tech platform to get the business to actually run wherever the community is going to be, the websites, the funnels, getting the domains. Those are the next steps to building the brand. And then the content workflows. How are we actually going to create the content? What's the process of doing that? Do we need slide decks? Do we need documents? Do we need, graphics? How are we going to do that? Then you actually get into the game of actually building a business. And I know this is all like super detailed, but this is very high level, just so you can kind of see the process we go through with clients at a very zoomed out level. But without the foundation, all of this stuff is super hard. So that's why we're doing this foundation. What used to take months to do, we could do now in a matter of an hour or two with a strategic workflow that you can always revisit in the future. But I really like some of the ideas that we came up with here. Okay, let me wrap up there. And yeah, I think that's it for today. So thanks for hanging out. I will wrap up there. I'm going to do some more of these demos soon. If you got something useful out of this, be sure to share it with someone who's been stuck with their brand. Hopefully some of these ideas will get them moving forward and get a better plan as they start to build out new products, offers, programs, businesses, brands, whatever you're trying to create. You can instantly visualize it using this method. And if you want all these prompts to make it even faster and easier, I've got so much available to you inside the course. You can check it out there, moodboardmethod.com. And just FYI, inside, there's so much more to help you out that we'll get into in some future trainings. But all these prompts are in there. You can just open those up and use them. Training, resources, so many other bonuses that I have that you can check out that are really, really cool. One last thing I didn't show you that I'll do a quick demo of is the new flexibility with these. So if you want more of the horizontal layout with your mood board, you can do a 16 by 9 and you can come up with any business idea. I'm going to type hot tub time machine as a brand idea because it's kind of funny, but you'll be amazed at what the AI can actually come up with. And of course it doesn't work there. Let's try it again. Maybe I'll force it to make an image. I'm going to type hot tub time machine. And I tried this the other day and it was so funny because it actually came up with this like reverse aging hot tub like program. It was pretty cool. So let's try a couple of those and see what we get. And then I'll wrap up today. So any idea you have, any business, you can instantly see what it could look like. Even just a few words, it will turn into an entire polished brand. Let's see. That one was very confused, so I did not know what to do with that one. Let's see if we get a better one. I'm gonna run it again with more details. So reverse aging spa. There we go. This one, I just told it hot tub time machine. Interesting. It's actually not as good as usual, but it's fun to kind of see what could that brand look like. I'll try one more. But that's where you'll see like kind of generic AI results. That's why I'd go through the vibe because you can dial it in before you generate images and see if you can get a feel that's a little bit more unique or on point. That's pretty cool. There you go. So just in a few seconds, any idea you have, you can visualize it using this method. That's pretty fun. All right, that's all for now. Take care, and I'll see you again soon. Those of you who have the course, you can submit your brand, and I will do some more of these demos. All right, take care.